So, welcome to another episode of the Manhood podcast. Today, I have a close brother of mine, Luke from Good, Better, Best Men. This takes me back to like the OG days of men's work when, I was just starting getting into this realm for myself after my own journey. Probably 6, 7 years ago is when we first met. I think when we were collaborating and working together, bringing together some powerful movements in South Australia, back in Australia, back in that day. And now things have continued to grow for Luke and myself. I'm now over in Los Angeles, and we were just connecting before this call and speaking about how special it is that we're still doing this work together, shoulder to shoulder, but from the other side of the world, and continuing to push forward with this common vision of wanting to support men. So I've got Luke here. Luke has spent the last 6 years on a transformative journey of personal growth and men's work, guiding men to break through from trauma, shame, and unhealthy relationship patterns. Through his journey, he founded Good, Better, Best Men, a not-for-profit community in Adelaide, South Australia, dedicated to supporting men in their paths of healing, self-discovery, and personal growth. Welcome, brother. Thank you for being
Great
here.
to be here, Greg. Thank you, man.
Yeah. And yeah, it feels like such a momentous moment, us connecting, us getting this web connected across the world. And like with some of these big pieces that we're working on together, these big passionate ideas that we're working on together of serving men and men's work, we need to come together with other men. It's like we need to come together with other organizations that are wanting and to move in the same direction. And just for a little bit of backstory, I spoke a little bit about Luke and my journey together in the early days where we started our facilitation journey. But since then, I've also built a brotherhood called Brazen Brotherhood back in South Australia, which now I'm more in an advisory role and I've stepped out of, but it's still running back in Australia. And Luke also went on to build Good, Better, Best Men with one of his great friends as well, which is now thriving in South Australia, doing its own thing and building momentum, just going leaps and bounds and strides. So yeah, that with that little bit of backstory, the first thing I just wanted to open up the space for, just to really bring our listeners in for this journey to speak about what is men's work. And I wanted to open that to you, brother. For you, what is men's work, and potentially like why is it important? What place does it play?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I guess it's such a strange beast to try to explain what is men's
Mm.
work because it's so varied in different the very different types of men's work all over, like even in Adelaide, Australia, globally. I guess for me, men's work has been a place where I guess I've always known that I wanted to do life differently and to be able to connect with men on a different level. Having fear of men, not having good mentors or guides in my life, or men to be able to speak my story to, and not actually understanding that that's what I needed or desired or wanted. And then I got invited to a men's circle, and I sat in this men's circle, which was a way of communicating in a very open, honest, and vulnerable way with non-judgment, no judgment from the other men, no advice giving, just hearing. And then I get to hear the lived experience of other men as well, and learn from that. So it was this way of communicating with men that was very heart opening, very at ease. There was no fear for me around being ridiculed. The Australian culture is very much, let's take them down. If someone says something, let's take them down, even if it's just a joke.
Mm.
Let's take them down, but the soul doesn't know it's a joke, and it does take off pegs, over time, and does affect my ego over time. Saying those things, it may not be consciously, but yeah, certainly unconsciously, just sort of underpegs, my consciousness. So, yeah, to be around men that are supportive, fully receive me as I am, um, is such a growth. It's been an amazing growth experience for me. I see men's work as a playground. It's a place I get to go and practice the things I want to say or do in the world, without fear of the ridicule or judgment. So it may be things that I'm experiencing in life, at work, or with a partner in relationship. And it could be a conversation that I'm not sure about having, but I can have that, I can share that with the men in the circle without fear of judgment, and hear myself say those things and go, is that going to work, or do I need to adjust that? How does that sound? And then also I get to hear from the lived experience of other men in that space around, they may have been through a similar journey or a similar experience. And so I get to hear that, and I get to take what's useful for me or what lights me up, or what lands with me, and leave what doesn't. And hearing that from multiple men really solidifies, in my mind and my heart, what direction to go. And it strengthens me to be more courageous and step out into the world. So yeah, it really is a playground to test all of these things, test ideas, test facilitation. It's been a wonderful playground for me to test facilitation in this really safe environment. Nerve-wracking, anxiousness, sleepless nights, shakes, and being supported by men in just standing up and doing it with all of this going on and being heard in that. So I don't have to hide that part of myself. Whereas if I do these things in public, I often, well, these days I feel more comfortable saying it, but in the past it was very much a hidden part of myself. So I
Mm.
get to integrate all of these parts of myself to be more complete version, and bring myself further into the world.
Beautiful, brother. I love that explanation. Thank you. I'll add some little pieces that are dropping through for me just to keep building this frame of what men's work is. I really see it as a training ground for men to how can we become the best versions of ourselves. And as you were speaking about already, like having this safe space where we can share and practice in new expressions that want to come through, practice in where we might feel an edge of like public speaking or an edge of sharing some deeper emotional pieces. It might even be a physical edge through movement, but finding places where we can work with other men and practice being this version of ourselves that we wish to be in the world. And there's a one saying in men's work that is iron sharpens iron, and this is just pointing to what happens within spaces like men's circles, within men's activities where we come together, of like two powerful beings coming together and uh, through having respect and love for one another, but also being in truth, we can pick up on where our brother might be sabotaging himself, or he might be picking up on where I'm sabotaging myself. And out of love, our swords coming together, almost like in a practice fight, we are sharpening each other's like warriors would, like training each other for battle. And the battle is life, where we go and face the world in real time, where we have to learn how to regulate our nervous system and make really clear decisions that are beneficial for ourselves, our community, our family. So yeah, these beautiful spaces where nothing's off limit, where the things that might be really edgy to share in society, there's actually space for it, and it's celebrated and welcomed into that space. So yeah, I love that this keeps evolving, and it's an evolving art and game that we're playing within men's work as well, as we're all evolving as men, and we're seeing many different versions of what a man can be, and the power that each of us hold in our uniqueness. We grow
Mm.
together because we see the different examples of masculinity embodied in different ways, and we realize there's no one way to be a powerful man. There's many different varieties of that, and sometimes it's the complete opposite of what society has told us that we need to be as men. So yeah, this is a little bit more of an angle from my side as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess for me, the word that come up, we talk about iron sharpening iron, conflict with men. I've avoided it my whole life. It's been a very fearful thing because the men are often bigger or stronger than I am, so I don't want to get into conflict for fear of the violence. But now I understand through sitting in men's work how to have healthy conflict and how to have those discussions in
Mm,
a meaningful, heartfelt way, and
yeah.
and really hear each other as men as to what's actually going on, what's the underlying issue, and we can agree to disagree in that beautiful open space as well. But more often than not, I think 98% of the time, I've found a way to communicate, resolve, and move forward with that person rather than moving away. And again, bringing that strength together to build. Yeah.
Mhm. And it's amazing when we come together as men like that. And this is my experience, and even with you, of having these deep conversations, when we can come together and share those deep levels of truth, even if they're edgy sometimes, underneath it is such a deep level of intimacy and connection and trust, because we know the man that's in front of us, we're getting the full man there. He's sharing all the parts of us. There's nothing held back. So yeah, it's just this beautiful game. It might sound a little bit edgy to begin with, but the deeper we go into it, the level of relationships that are built amongst men is just next level. It
Yeah.
adds another whole support network to our life. So yeah,
Mm.
what powerful work. Beautiful. I love the
Yeah.
passion that's coming through just as even speaking about it. It's like, yes, let's go. So where I'll take it next, brother, I would love to hear your story of how you got led into this work. How did it all begin for
Mm,
you, and what
mm,
inspired you to create the Good, Better, Best men
mm.
movement? Yeah.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I guess it's all part of the one story. So thanks for asking. So I was my partner at the time was in women's work, doing women's circles. I guess I've always been doing life a particular way, particular and specifically in relationship patterns. I've realized I have patterns in relationship, and I realized at a point in time in my life that if these things keep happening, the commonality, and I kept blaming the women, right? The common factor though was this guy.
Mm,
So what was I going to do about it? And I had no idea. I was pretty lost in life. We were introduced to a man at a beach who was running a men's circle here in Port Wollonga, South Australia. And I went along to that men's circle, and it just blew my mind that men were communicating in this way. From there, those men were setting up the Southern Men's Gathering, which of course you and I, that's how we met at the
mhm.
Southern Men's Gathering. I think you were on the content team that year,
Yeah.
um, and that was profound journey for me. A weekend intensive of men acting in this way, and speaking about thoughts and feelings and whatever's going on in life, and really understanding myself. It gave me so much clarity. The first gathering was well supported by the men from Tasmania, if you remember.
Mhm.
Tasman gathering that's been running for 26 years. And these men brought something different. They had a wisdom, a strength, a courage about them, a fullness. They were emotionally expressive. They were comfortable within themselves. There was something different about these men. It's like, well, who are these guys? What are they doing? I want to find out what's going on with these guys. So I went to Tasman. Um, and yeah, that organization's been running for 26 years. And what I found in Tasmania is they have an unbelievably strong community of men there. Um, they have events all year round. They have mini gatherings. They have the main gathering in March every year, where 120 odd men go to, and then they have events, yeah, ongoing throughout the year. The support keeps going, and I'm like, I want this. This is what I want in Adelaide, but I don't like, I don't live in Tasmania. I live in Adelaide. Okay, so well, where is this in Adelaide? And there wasn't.
Mhm.
And one of the things I kept hearing was at the end of the Southern Men's Gathering, because it's just the weekend, men would say, well, what now? And there was no what now in Adelaide. I came together with Michael Brennan, who's he's a retired electrical engineer with a passion for men's mental health and suicide prevention. And we were sitting in circle together, and we were talking about purpose and legacy. And he was thinking about the legacy he would like to leave behind in the world. And we were talking, and Good, Better, Best Men came up. Let's run a men's program. To leave in Adelaide, we don't need to own it. We'll set it up as a not-for-profit and charity, so that we can train men to come forward and deliver the programs and develop the programs. And we will write the first one, but who knows where it'll go. So that was so 6 years ago was when 6 or 7 years ago was when you and I met, and it was probably 2 years ago now that we kicked off Good, Better, Best, and started the planning, writing the 9-week Begin the Journey program, and we launched it. We initially launched it. We were so passionate about the work. We're like, that we do this for free. Like, we'll just do this for nothing. Like, this work is so good, and we did that. Uh, and what we found, two things. It doesn't value our time. And the other thing is the men don't value the time either. If they don't pay, they don't value the product that we're giving them. And so men weren't showing up. It's like, oh, what's going on here? So we've had to adjust the model um, somewhat so that men buy in to the program, and it really is like for the program, it's a nominal amount. And it's been unbelievably successful. Michael and I have been running two 9-week programs consecutively throughout the last 18 months. So it's been a very, very busy time. I've just finished the last one for the year. And next year is rapidly changing. We've been we've had a lot of men say to us that have gone through the program, we want to do what you're doing. And I'm like, great,
Mm.
great. We need the help. And
Yeah.
I need more men to be able to do this. This is my vision, is to be able to spread this. I can't do this on my own. So we developed a Lead the Journey program, which is a weekend away intensive, and then co-facilitating the programs. And then now we've got 15 trained facilitators. And so
Right.
next year, so Michael and I have been launching 2 programs. Next year, we've got 4 launching in February.
Mm. Mm.
And I'm not actually facilitating any of them, so there's absolute FOMO going on. Fear that I'm not doing it. I'm missing out. But my role is now looking after the men that are facilitating, and developing new programs and supporting in different ways. So yeah, structures moving quickly and differently, and growing very quickly. And yeah, I'm super passionate about the work, the changes it makes in men's lives, in their families, in the community. Yeah, I'm so passionate about it. It's very uplifting and inspiring to keep me going every day. Yeah.
Mm. Amazing, brother. Thank you for sharing. And I can see this glint in your eye and also the passion coming through your heart of like a man that's on purpose, that's like found his mission or something that's important to him, and how it
Mm.
like adds fuel to your life. And
Yeah, man.
you spoke in your journey about there being different stages of this program being unpaid, and now it comes into some sort of remuneration. But besides from that, you being on your mission and like following through with something that is on your heart to want to serve the world with, it gives so much in other ways. And I'm seeing that in you, and I've seen that in your growth over the years as well, brother. Just like this huge amount of giving, but also you receiving and then continuing to flow it out into the community, bro. So yeah, just
Mm,
acknowledging that in you, and seeing that, and hearing you even speak to the vision and what it's all about, and stepping into even more of a leadership position again, really
mm.
powerful. So yeah.
Thank you, man. Yeah, like when I met you, 6, 7 years ago, there is no way. Like if you said to me, you're going to be facilitating, running men's groups on a podcast with Greg,
Mhm.
like no way, no way. Like I was too anxious, nervous, beaten down in life, I guess, unsure of myself. And it's through sitting with men and doing this work that I've been able to be this fuller version of myself, and just yeah, the courage, the strength, the determination, and the idea of purpose.
Mhm.
I remember, probably when we first met, the idea of purpose started coming about, and I shuddered at the thought. I was this free spirit that traveled and didn't make commitments to anything. Like no way. And what I've realized through this journey is that by having more structure in my life actually creates more freedom. I think I've swung the pendulum a little too far at the moment, and I need it to swing back. There's probably not as much freedom as I would like. There's a lot more structure and busyness. But yeah, finding that balance is a beautiful game to play at the moment.
Mhm.
And to have that purpose, like you said, like I shuddered at the thought of purpose, but now it just lights me up and drives me every day, just leaps me out of bed every day. Yeah.
Amazing, bro. And I'm curious to ask you, you spoke about this time in your journey, 7 years ago, how it was like unfathomable thinking of leading a program like this, thinking of being on a podcast, and the Luke that's now with us. Is there a few points on your journey that you can speak to that were like a big transformational moment for you? What's your experience been of, the last 7 years of transformation?
Thank you, man. One of the things that we talk about in men's work is the hero's journey. The hero's journey is very much, it's a Jungian concept, and it's pretty much how every movie is made. So, think of Superman, Star Wars, anything like that. Luke Skywalker is the hero's journey. Starts off with, life going okay, then hits a challenge and goes into the unknown, the depths and the darkness, and breaks down, and then rebuilds, makes amends, and then comes out in the light. And I guess it's been a perpetual motion of that for me. One of the biggest things for me was, first of all, just stepping into the men's work ring. Uh, I see this happen with men around me all the time. It's a very fearful thing to do, is to step into this space with men, not knowing what it is, what's going to happen, stepping into the unknown, and then okay, conquering that. Okay, so that's one hero's journey. Another one was, after seeing your guys' content, I was super inspired and joined the content team the next year. And that's a big journey in itself. It's very much an awakening. I had a very fixed way of thinking in the way of presenting content. I had everything written down, word for word. I knew what I was going to say because it was there in front of me, but that's actually not what it's about. It's about speaking from this, my
Mm.
story, from here to here and out. And so I had to learn that, and I literally broke down. I remember it was probably only a couple of months from the gathering, and I had my content sorted, and here it all was, and I went to present it, and the worst thing in the world is I just lost my voice. I couldn't speak, and I stood there like just stunned, and I ended up like breaking down in tears, not really understanding what was going on, but it was through the support of the men in that room that day that instead of just shying, like going and contracting into my shell and going, oh my God, I can't do this, the men helped me expand out of that and realize that this is okay. It's just part of the process. And so with the support and encouragement, I was able to deliver a heartfelt content without the writing within 2 months. There was a lot of practice going on, a lot of support from men, and it's just the continual motion of that. Okay, so here's the next challenge. What is it? Okay, it's relationship. What am I doing? Okay, it's the relationship with my dad. Okay, now I'm not actually happy at work. Okay, so here's the next
Mm.
hero's journey, and these cycles just keep carrying on through life. And so being able to see them as that and as challenge, but enjoyable, like because of the growth and joy that comes out of it in the end, I actually lean into these things now. So I used to lean
Mm.
back and lean away. And now it's like, no, let's go. This looks, this is going to change. It's going to be transformational. And it often looks like that ugliness of, not knowing what I'm doing when I'm delivering a speech and breaking down and releasing of emotion and old childhood wounds and energy. And there are multiple ways of moving that energy through movement, breath, talking with men, etc., etc. Surfing. I love surfing and mountain biking. Really good ways to release that energy, and to allow the new energy to build my system. One of the things I think I used to say probably 3 years ago, up until 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, is I felt like a little boy rattling around in a man's body. I'm 47 years old, and I still felt like a teenager rattling around. It really felt like that. Like I had this body, but it was like a 20-cent piece in a tin can rattling around. That's what it felt like. And through doing all of this work with these men, it feels like I've grown into my body. I
Mm.
feel like a fuller version of myself now, and there's capacity to just keep going. I astound myself at how much capacity through this work and this energetic exchange with life and with people. It just grows me to do more. Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, something you spoke about really touches, something that is really close to my heart as well, and is about this momentum forward and like choosing to step into the challenge and choosing to see the challenge as an opportunity to grow and to experience like the full potentiality of who we are as men. And comfort is something I think that is not, something that a lot of people are drawn towards and thinking that, I want to be comfortable, I want to feel safe. But
Mm.
being able to find places like you've been speaking about on your journey, and the common thread is you kept leaning into the challenge, you kept feeling the comfort and then feeling and knowing where like the growth was going to be by actually choosing to step forward into the challenge and choosing your battles rather than my experience is if we don't choose our own battles and choose to step into the challenge that life brings it through for us anyway, right? There's a saying in
Yeah.
NLP that we either evolve by choice or by chance. And
Yeah.
yeah, this way of choosing to step into challenges and choosing the challenges that excite our heart, even if they're the most edgy things for us, even if they're the things that bring up the biggest fear and actually are asking us to make these big changes within ourselves and within our life. This is such a powerful way to be able to live life compared to feeling like we're always having to run away from the challenges that life's bringing to us instead, like, yeah, just choosing to step in and seeing that actually this is part of life. Challenge is a part of our evolution, something that we need. And I might as well choose my direction of how I'm going to
Mm.
challenge myself because it's so needed for my development and my growth and my expansion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A man's life is a life of service, a life of challenge, and a life of practice.
Mhm.
At any given moment, what is it that I'm practicing? And it can be comfort. There's nothing wrong with that. But just
Mhm.
know that that's what I'm doing at the time is just practicing that comfort. Okay, now I'm going to go practice some growth or some expansion. That comfort
Yeah.
could just be relaxation. I actually just need to relax right now. I need to rest right now, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And sometimes that can be the most challenging thing for some people is to practice relaxing. Yeah. Like, because there can be this mentality of I need to be doing more. And it's actually like a creating safety in doing all the time from actually sitting back and being with ourselves and being like in a room, sitting with ourselves, sitting with our internal dialogue, sitting with what's happening for us. So even in that, there's an opportunity to be in the challenge of not challenging ourselves, not always
What?
needing to push, not always feeling like we need to do more. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Just experience what I hear in that is experiencing what comes up in that void. It's like, in a breath, in taking a breath, it's not actually the breath, it's the space between the breath,
mhm,
where the important effects happen. So it's the same in life. Like I need to take those time to stop, to hear what's going on in my system, to feel what's going on in my system. Am I nervous? Am I anxious? What's going on? And so, yeah, like you said, that time of rest can actually be, it's the work at the same time.
absolutely. And often it's like in those times of rest that some of the most transformational moments can happen, especially if we have been pushing for a long time, trying to better ourselves or trying to move forward. In that rest period, actually gives us the space for our nervous system to integrate and to like integrate the journey that we've just been on energetically, emotionally, psychologically, for our ego to make sense of itself again. And then also some of the biggest ideas that can drop in is during those stages of rest, right? So we think that maybe the fastest way of getting somewhere is to push, 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 but it's in the slowing down and going, actually, am I even pushing in the right direction? Am I even pushing in a direction that is actually aligned for me? And am I going to be happy with the outcome of getting to there? Like the people that maybe I'm seeing that are in this direction that I'm pushing towards, do I want to live like them? Do I want to
Mm.
have the life that they're living? Do I want to experience what they're experiencing? And I know for myself in the past, oftentimes it's like, no, I don't want to experience that or move in that direction. So it gives me this opportunity in the rest to go, cool. And what is next then? What if I was to truly be honoring to myself and truly be honoring past all of the fears and past everything else of what I think I should do, what is actually for me? And sometimes this has sped up the journey because a lot of the things I thought I had to do suddenly become obsolete because they were just a construct of my mind that I was making to keep myself safe from actually doing the thing. So yeah,
I
the
love
rest
how, I
is
love how
is
the
just as important, hey?
Absolutely. I love how the ego can think it's doing the right thing and just I can be bashing against this wall, but the ego goes, no, that's the thing I want.
Yeah.
What I find in what I'm finding in life now is serendipity. So the ease of life.
Mm.
When I'm on the right path, when I'm making the right decisions, it actually comes with quite ease and it's playful and it's fun. And it's when I hit these barriers, it's like, is that direction I need to be going? Now, there are some that, yeah, I do need to push through that because that's my learning experience. But there are some are like, no, that's actually not the thing I want at all. So let me try a different path. Oh, there's the serendipity again. It's happening with ease. Okay, let's adjust and play with that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way of being able to keep checking, am I on the path right? When these things start lining up for us and there's some synchronicities that line up and meeting the right person, it opens up to the next opportunity and meeting new friends. It's like life telling us, hey, you're heading in the right direction. And yeah, for myself as well, I use this as a navigation tool. And as soon as I start slowing down with those synchronicities, serendipities, this is when I start asking myself the question, okay, is there something that I'm not seeing here? Is there something that where I can adjust or allow life to take me more, where
Mm.
I'm actually pulling myself out of the ease and flow of life? Because yeah, I feel like life has a journey for us. And if we can work in with life and listen and be really good listeners before just taking action and just stepping, that there is a beautiful flow that we can find ourselves in. as men that you're speaking to here, which I think is something that we can continue to elaborate on. That, there might be this belief of I need to work hard to get ahead in life. Maybe this
Mm.
is more of that 9 to 5 mentality of I need to work hard to get somewhere. But as we continue to evolve, and at least for myself, as I've continued to evolve, it's not always working harder that gets you further. It's maybe working smarter or working more closely to what my nature is. Because if I'm in my nature, that's when I'm emanating energy. That's when I'm attractive to the world. That's when I'm radiant to the people around me. And I call in the people that are looking for that radiance, that are looking for that version of me in their life. And things start opening up that would have never been capable, would have never been possible if I hadn't been that version of myself. And it starts like really questioning this philosophy that is really general philosophy in life about I need to have the things to be able to be the person I need to be able to get where I need to get. And instead, changing that whole puzzle around to be like, who do I need to be to draw in the situations that then allow me to have the things in life? It's almost the complete opposite around where it starts from an enemy. It's coming from within and us as echoing that out into the world that then draws in and attracts what was always for us and what is in our highest alignment and the alignment for those around us.
Yeah, man, so much to say to that. I mean, I have cadets and military background, and it's work hard, play hard, that sort of mentality. I had so many old mantras: work
Mm.
hard, play hard. I've got to work hard for the things that I want. He who dies with the most toys wins. These old these old mantras,
Mhm.
and they were real for me back then, and I still have no men in my life that have gone down that path, stayed on that path their whole lives. And I don't, I'm not going to judge their life now. I'd love to have a conversation to see where they're at, heartfelt conversation. But I know for me, like, flipping that paradigm and understanding I don't actually have to. It's not hard work because it's joyous
Mm.
in the things that I'm doing. That it just leads, like I heard you share, it just leads to the next thing. It's like I open this door, okay, there's 100 more doors. All right, well, instead of me closing the door and being overwhelmed by that, like let me step in and just walk up and down that hallway and see what lands, and one of the doors will open. Okay, there it is. Let me follow that. Or maybe it shouldn't have been that one. Let's go to the next one. So I don't need to know. I don't have to have a control or know the answers. I just have to be willing and open and trust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. And just to tie it back in with the men's work, like that's really some of the essence and the core of what men's work is coming back to ourselves, coming back to yes, yes, I'm a man and understanding this concept of being a man in the world, but even beyond my gender, who am I in the core of my being? Like, what's this central place within me? Because once we get locked into that place, once we work out what that central place within us wants and desires beyond what we've been taught or told that we should want, or what's successful, what's going to get us the beautiful woman or the perfect life that we've envisioned, when we get beyond all of that and come home to ourselves, life changes. It becomes a very different experience where we can move a lot more like what you're speaking about, where there is a lot more joy. It's not always a grind. I don't have to always work hard and, like these sayings of like life's a bitch, or, these sort of sayings of like that are almost glorified in some cultures. I know Australia is one of them, of like life is hard and, get harder. You have to be harder than life to move forward, which yeah, there's definitely tough times in life, but there's also this flow to life and a deeper wisdom of how to play the game of life that becomes available when we know ourselves. And yeah, it really like inspires in me and speaks to the importance of yeah, this conversation we're talking about, not always pushing further forward harder, that taking that breath and coming home to us could lead our life into a very different place and a prosperous place with relationships within all sorts of goals that we have within our finances, within the parts of the world that we get to see within all of the realms, just by actually taking the pause and learning how to know who we are, and potentially. This might be a big thing, and potentially the only way of actually ever getting to what we truly want is to stop and to take that pause.
Yeah, it's interesting. I hear you say stop and take a pause, and what I think is if this is going out to men that are
Mm,
unsure about this, no, you don't have to stop your life. That's not
yes,
that's
yeah, yeah.
not, like life just carries on. It's not like I became a monk for 6 years. Like I was still working, I was still raising a family at that time. I was still surfing or learning to surf and experiencing different parts of life. And I was doing men's work as well to grow that side of myself. So I was taking that time in my busy life for me. And
Yes.
so just prioritizing me amongst my life now, and taking that time and for me, I just kept leaning in. So it actually became a larger part of my life, which I'm, very happy about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, it's integrating it all.
I love that, man. Yeah, and I agree with where you're coming from with that. It's almost like this mental pause of like taking a 10,000 foot view of my life and asking the question of like, yeah, is this heading in the direction that I want? And am I feeling alive in it? So like a bit of a break state in the piece. And I love that
And
you've spoken to that, how you get to be still moving, still in momentum, still doing what you're doing, living life, showing up as a father, as a husband, in your business.
yeah, and it's not all roses. Like the frightening part is there may be some stuff that I look at that I'm not happy with in my life, and that's actually the frightening part. That's when I comfort. I'm comfortable in this experience in my life right now, and there's something I can feel that there's something not quite right, or I'm not happy about, and it could mean upheaval of my life. It could mean end of a relationship. It could mean moving somewhere else. It could mean something quite big could happen in my life, and that's what did happen for me. Some big upheaval, big changes in my life, and I had the support of the men around me to navigate that part of my life. I didn't have to do it alone. It was through them, through sitting with the men, that I had this deeper understanding of myself, and then the support of those men to go through that massive change, and still going through the massive change. It doesn't actually stop. For me, this is the excitement of life. You know, change is something to, I think, in society, particularly in a big part of my life, change is sort of, it's only ever wanted in increments and controlled increments. I want to be able to control change, but when I let go of that idea, bring it in, like it's fun. It's just it's a big game. It's and yeah, it involves other people, other people's lives. If I have a family, but if I'm showing up to my family as a better version of myself, or to those people around me as a better version of myself, it's not a question anymore.
Mhm.
If I'm turning up home unhappy, angry, explosive, that's not a full version of myself. That's not the world I want to be living in.
Mhm.
I want to be in joy. I want to be able to play. I want to be able to go hang out with mates and support the family and do all of the things. So it's finding that balance uh, in my life,
Um,
integrate it all. Yeah.
And you speak here about the dynamics in the family, and I know from a little bit of what we've spoken about, also that part of your big birthing into this journey and one of the big challenges that's forged you as a man has been within the realm of relationship in the past. And I'd love to hear your journey with this and your learnings and lessons around relationship dynamics and what you went through that allowed you to make some hard decisions, but also decisions that, by the sounds of it, needed to be made and have really benefited, um, the whole family in the movement.
Thank you, man. This is really a major piece of my life, a major piece of my life, and it's still unraveling. I'm still learning about it, and this is probably the most where my emotions come up, in relating experience, and it feels like, yeah, the next big layer of onion for me. So I guess, um, there's been periods of my life where I've been, traveling a lot and long time single. I've had relationships, but and some of those relationships looked quite abusive, uh, very specifically on the receiving end, and I didn't understand how I got myself into that situation. uh, and I thought I could fix it just by being in it, and just being a nice guy, right? But I'm just being nice. Like, why? I don't understand what's going on. And I guess I learned. I love my mother dearly. And I think I checked in many times that my mum was the best mum in the world. She made our clothes, she grew all our own food, she made all our own food. She was a stay-at-home mum, very loving, very caring, all of those things. And there was another side to her that I'd completely shut off. She was quite a bully, aggressive. It was through having conversations with other people in my family that I learned this. I didn't understand. And then when I heard about this, I went to my brother and I said, was mum like this? And he was like, yeah. Oh,
Mm,
okay. So I had complete non-awareness of this. Um, and that speaks to my relationship dynamics moving forward as to why, within our family, we all like strong women. The men in our family, we like strong women, and often we look for strength in a wounded way, and that's what I've been doing,
mm.
and it's been
I'll,
very unhealthy.
I'll just connect the dots there as well of like this, what you've spoken about there. Often, just for our listeners, often what we experience in our relationship with that first feminine figure in our life, which is our mum, we tend to draw in the same dynamics and the good dynamics and also the dysfunctional dynamics from that relationship in our future partners. Because in a way, that's what we know that relationship to be. That's what we're expecting. And like what Luke's speaking to here, almost not even recognizing it because that's just how it is. And yeah, so it's just powerful to connect those dots of like, what was the relationship with my mum, and how was that relative to the relationship with my partner? Yeah.
Right. Um, and the other part to that is what I didn't realize is the actions I was doing in relationship to have them act like my mum,
Mm-hmm.
because that feels like safety for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were things that I would do or act out or say to trigger them to act, to be angry. And I didn't realize I was doing it was super unconscious actions. And that's my responsibility. Like, what? Why am I doing these things? I get it, but I have to understand it and see it first, to be able to know that I'm doing those things. And having seen those, I can change the behavior. So yeah, I guess part of my life as well is there's a sexual shame. Um, I moved house every couple of years. Dad was a bank manager. Wonderful, had a wonderful upbringing. Met a lot of people, learned a lot about people by traveling, and it was in rural places that I moved to. So every time we moved, we went to a rural place where they don't see a whole lot of change, and so I was a pretty interesting dude. This city guy turning up in these rural places. I was pretty popular. And so I'd often have, girlfriends and not really understanding what it meant to have a girlfriend. But, small towns, dad would find out and dad would come home and he'd tease me. And so consequently, I have this, this shame of like, when it came time to be interested in actually have an interest in girls and wanting to hold hands, kiss, all these sorts of things, I really wanted to speak to my dad about it. And I couldn't because the shame. Now, I've spoken with my dad will probably watch this. My dad and I have spoken about a lot about this, and I'm really grateful for my dad and our journey together to move through this. And it's still there. And so I guess I've known that I've been wanting to do relationship differently. Sex has always been quite friction based, and I knew there's a different way of doing it. And also, it's through sitting with the program and the work with men, I've realized that, I've been chasing sex my whole life, and it's not actually sex I'm after. It's intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And once once that penny dropped, my whole world changed. I did have to do some work around that. So I've never really dated before, and so what I find is I walk around women and instantly there's like this unconscious behavior of like, can I have sex with this person? And so this blurs or clouds the interaction between just two humans because of this shadow side of myself that's unfulfilled. And so what I learned to do was to date women. I actually were dating unavailable women, so taking them out as friends, so I could get to learn about them intimately and start to understand and just hear them, because I do this with men. So why can't I do this with women? So it actually had to be a conscious practice for me to learn this behavior, and it's opened up a whole new world of communication, understanding, intimacy, being able to receive ask for what it is that I want, and to be able to receive what it is that I want and need in a relating experience. It's an absolute whole new paradigm, and it's so fulfilling in my life to be able to switch from anger and aggression to, and it's still there, it's, to desire and communication and fun, and it's still there. That fear is still there. It's 47 years of conditioning, and conditioning as a young man, and it crops up. Absolutely, it crops up, and at the most inappropriate times. And that's when the work is to be done. And I've met this amazing woman who has done her work and has this amazing capacity to be able to hold me in these challenges and see me as I am and accept me as I am. It's the way I get accepted by men in circles. I've found this in relating with women in my life, and this new woman in my life, and it's unbelievably soul nourishing. Yeah.
Beautiful, brother. I love, yeah, thank you for sharing your journey so intimately, so deeply. And I love where you're landing now and this symbiosis that we can have with women as men
Mm.
when we have done this deeper work and we're able to connect maybe past the primal, which brings me to one of the points that you were speaking about, like, and it's really powerful that you've brought it up here. And this is a really good example of what men's work's about, right? Where we speak to stuff that we normally wouldn't speak about in society. But I really resonate with what Luke said here of this primal drive or desire towards women. We have a primal body. We have lower intelligence centers in our body, our gut, and our sex center. And I think it's healthy and normal for us to have a sexual drive towards the opposite sex, where there's a beautiful woman, or for a woman, there's a beautiful man, that there is a level of desire. But the most powerful thing is that we have acknowledged that within ourselves and that we can see that part of ourselves and we have acceptance so that we don't hide that and make it wrong. Because just because we have that desire, it doesn't mean we have to act from that place. It just means there's part of us, part of our animal self, which is the human, that of course is going to have that because we're biologically wired to mate and procreate, just like any other animal. The work that we do though is, yes, on the lower senses and loving and accepting them, but also understanding, connecting to our heart, connecting to our conscious mind, and yeah, connecting to these other levels of ourselves. So we're not just moving through life, literally thinking from our cock. And this gives us being able to then take our relationships to a new level with, like, yeah, this woman is beautiful. Yes, I can feel that. And also I choose to engage in this way, in a way that feels good for me, is creates safe environment for everybody. And then the relationships can go so much deeper. And it's beautiful to have relationships and where those things are acknowledged. And you know the woman's beautiful. She is maybe also, there's like an attraction, but there's nothing there in terms of any relationship that would ever happen because of this level of intelligence that's happened within both people. Within
Mm.
understanding the mind and what this relationship is, understanding and connecting on more of a heart level, and also just having respect for, yeah, and we're animals. So I think these are the sort of topics that, by even though they're uncomfortable and it brings up edges for people, by having them, it actually creates a much safer world because we're speaking to things that everybody experiences in their body anyway, that everybody has, but very few are willing to actually speak about it and own it or even admit it to themselves. And it's just a part of the game of being human. So the more we can speak about it, understand it, and actually dialogue about it like we're doing here, It takes away the shame, it allows it to be seen, and then it allows us to then navigate and to learn from one another. How do we navigate this whole experience of being human, and ultimately build really beautiful, safe, powerful relationships where, in this case, as men and women, we're really serving one another, rather than working from just pure primal desire or trauma or the other pieces that come up under the surface, from our past. So yeah, such powerful work.
Oh man, so much to say around that. It's particularly around shame. Like, sitting with so many men, I find that the biggest thing holding men back in life is shame. And I'll speak for myself. My shame has been holding me back my whole life. My shame, my mum and I don't have a relationship, and I was being a good boy in case mum steps back into my life. Now she's not likely to step back into my life, so why am I being a good boy? And who am I being a good boy for? Like, I'm too
Mm.
afraid to speak out, or say the things around sexuality, for example, in case mum sees this and she judges me and then she gets upset at me. Not anymore. It's like I can move through that shame now and be a bigger version of myself. If I allow that shame to control me, it's going to come out in other ways. And particularly, I heard you about, say, sexual, within sexuality. Like, if I'm not feeling heard, nourished, complete, fulfilled in my sexuality within my relationship, yeah, I'm going to look for it elsewhere. There is an innate part of me that, the animalistic part that's, always attracted to things, but it's how I act on those things that changes everything. Like, I feel completely centered in my system right now around other women around, because I'm completely nurtured and nourished in the relating experience that I'm having. So whereas in the past I still felt like I was this underhanded, like, still looking and, or maybe still interested type energy, and of course the woman feels that consciously or unconsciously. It's through sitting with men and uncovering those layers of shame in that really safe environment, with men, non-judgmental. Any piece of shame, it doesn't matter what it is, can be uncovered within that environment, for men to be able to remove that. It's like a cup, full of water. The levels of shame fill up, and once the levels of shame are really high, it's overflowing, and that's depression, anxiety, all these sorts of things. Whereas if I get to speak out those bits of shame, I get to empty the cup a little bit,
Mhm.
um, and then I get to fill the capacity with what it is that I want. The
Yeah.
other part of that is dealing with it with men. I'm not meant to offload everything that's going on in my world to my woman.
Mhm.
There's my role is to do a lot of that with men, and then I can come to my woman and say, hey, this is what's been going on, and with clarity and understanding. I don't need to unpack it with her. I can unpack it with men and then come to my woman with clarity, and she goes, holy shit, this guy's got some insight. Like, he understands himself quite well. um, and I'm not saying don't do that with your woman, but it doesn't have to be done all the time. It's not like that's what she's there for all the
Yeah.
time.
And as you
um,
were speaking to, it's amazing when we do release the shame and we start releasing the underlying emotions, how much more clear we can see the situation and we can articulate ourselves in a completely different way. But if that shame is still full to the brim, and yeah, it can end up just creating even more chaos because us not being able to see things clearly, some bits being still hidden below the surface.
mm,
And yeah, spaces like, what we're proposing here are really powerful places for men to be able to move through this, are wonderful opportunities. The interesting thing about shame is it needs secrecy and silence for it to keep festering and growing. They're the two things that are required, like the two ingredients for shame to keep festering and growing. When we allow ourselves to speak about the things that we might be shameful for, it could be anything from our physical, the way that we look, to something that we've done in the past that we're not proud about, to some of the thoughts that we might be having, or here we're talking about sexuality. It could be that drive that we sometimes feel towards, that might feel inappropriate in some way. The more we share these things, it allows us to actually open it, bring some normality around it when we realize that like 95, well, everybody around us is going through the same thing. Just very few people are speaking about it, or maybe even are aware of it within themselves, which brings a normality to it, which doesn't depending on which situation is, it doesn't make it okay or not okay, but it means we can see it. It means that we can work with it in a responsible manner. It means we're taking full responsibility because we're actually choosing to go into the parts where that empower us and give us the power to make conscious decisions rather than working from a place of not even understanding why we do things half the time, or even some of the things that we might do that create conflict within a relationship or make people feel uncomfortable, or yeah, or just leave us feeling not good within ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've been I've been speaking at the 16. Sorry, I've been well involved in the 16 days of activism,
Mhm.
gender-based violence. I struggle with the narrative because it does feel like a very man against man type event. And I've certainly come in with a different, and I understand why. I want to respect women in all of this. I totally understand why. There aren't many men standing up and offering a solution, to be able to change. And I'm actually quite comfortable saying this is a solution. Good, better, best men coming and sitting in circle is a solution. Men who are, abusive, it's often because of their shame, something
Mhm.
that's happened to them as a child, something that's happened to them in life, and they're not prepared to talk about it because it's super shameful. And
Mhm.
so I'm passionate about creating these spaces so that men can come in and talk about this stuff, so that they can shift it and become like move that anger and aggression. The anger and aggression are welcome with men. Come do it with men. Um, that's not to be taken out on a partner. And it's the same with suicide. Men's suicide rates are through the roof. And here is a solution. Men, come and talk. Come and sit with us. Come and sit with other men who are not going to judge you. And I know that can be like, a really anxious thing for men to do. Come and grab a friend and come do it with a friend. It doesn't matter. It's absolutely life changing. It saves lives. It creates connection. It shifts that shame. I can't speak highly enough of it. And big things are coming because this is the way forward. I see so much awareness happening in these spaces, but not much solution. And here's a solution. And it's not expensive. It's not hard. It just requires men of community just to go, yeah, actually, I do want to do life a bit differently. That's it. Let's get curious. Step in. It's the worst that can happen.
Absolutely, brother.
Everything is by choice in men's work, right?
Mhm.
Everything is by invitation. Everything's by choice. If it's not for you, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. We're here.
And that's part of the journey, is actually feeling into ourself activity by activity and going, what feels right for me to do right now? Because sometimes going all in isn't what our nervous system can handle. And yeah, I've seen many different men approach men's work in a different way, and my own experience of, yeah, like sometimes just needing to be on the edge to begin with, and then stepping in a little bit more, stepping in until we feel safe. And that's a really honoring and important part of the process as well of, yeah, one step at a time. There's no need to have to jump right in the deep end, which can actually overwhelm our nervous system and leave us feeling, yeah, just in a place, a compromised place moving out, that we didn't need to try to do it all at once, right? It gets to be step by step. So
Hmm.
yeah, I love this, brother. I love where this is coming into a crescendo of the conversation, and this call for like this stuff works. There is a solution here, and I also believe what you believe, and this is why I'm so passionate about this work. And just for our listeners, obviously, Good, Better, Best Men, Brazen Brotherhood in South Australia as well. But if you're looking to be connected, no matter where you're listening to this from around the world, there's men's groups that are connected all around the world. Each of these men's groups are becoming even more interconnected as we keep growing as networks, as communities, and we're working more and more cohesively with one another. So if you are genuinely interested, or you have a man that's interested in going deeper into this work and finding which group fits well for him as well, because there's many different flavors of this, just like everything, then reach out, and we can, at least between us and our networks, point you in the direction of some really epic, beautiful, centered men around the world that are doing this work and are part of organizations that have the tools, have the awareness that maybe the mainstream healthcare system doesn't have, and mainstream psychology doesn't have. This is another approach through community, through, because one of the biggest killers of, and one of the biggest pieces of the suicide rates is isolation. So even this having a community of guys to drop in with, suddenly there straight away, there's this huge up leveling because we were never meant to do life alone. We're meant to be sharing it. We're meant to be not just learning from our own experiences, but learning from other people so we don't have to make the same mistake, right? Imagine having 15 guys that really care about you and they're able to share with their mistakes of their life that, they're maybe not proud of, but they've learned from. And now they're a better man for it. And we don't have to do those 15 mistakes in the same order. We can be like, oh, thank you, brother. I was just about to step there and now I get it. And I can draw some sort of power on my personal journey and bringing myself into my center from that place. So, yeah.
I love it, man. A couple of things within. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, I encourage men to look for a men's group anywhere in the world. I would also like to share that Good, Better, Best Men. So we've got a 9-week program that's run face to face at the moment, and early next year we are looking to do an online version and train facilitators and men anywhere in the world to be able to facilitate these programs ongoing in open circles. It is a not-for-profit and charity. We don't want to own this. We want this to be everywhere. So there's an opportunity to jump on our website, register your details, and as soon as a program, we're ready to go, we'll contact you. We can run these online programs, begin the journey. So the sequence is begin the journey. We'll train you in a lead the journey, and off you go. You'll be confident and have all of the tools to actually set up a circle ongoing, and the support from our network. So that's next year's vision
And
for GB.
where's the best place for the people that are listening to this for them to connect in with you? You said the website. Do you want to just share the website, bro?
Yeah, www.goodbetterbestmen.com.au.
Hmm.
We're also on social media, Instagram, Good Better Best Men. Yeah, my details are everything. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to speak with anybody. I'm pretty busy at the moment, but I'll always get back when I can. And I love having these conversations with men all over the world.
Cool,
Um,
man.
yeah, register on a website and for interest once we launch the programs. But yeah, it's coming and it's going to be big. We're
Love it,
changing
brother.
we're changing the world, man.
We are. That's what we were here to do. It was always part of the plan, hey, that we come together and we find a way, make a way together.